Hey folks, it's Steven here. I was going to make a video about me going out and about, but I feel like death today. So instead, we're going to do a tutorial on how to get a Neocities site set up pretty quickly, because the main focus I want on this video is how to make an RSS feed. So for those who don't know, an RSS feed is how podcasts work. It's a type of file that an RSS feed reader or a podcast player will check, and when it sees updates, it updates your podcast, or if there's an article, it'll show in the feed reader. So first, we're going to show you my screen. All right, so here we have Microsoft Visual Studio Code. I recommend having some way to code on your own computer. The website we'll be using to host these files, you can edit there as well, but I personally like having a backup of all my files in case something ever happens to the site we're hosting on, then at least I can still make changes. So this is my general workflow. I use something called Microsoft Visual Studio Code to edit. You can use other editors if you prefer. Notepad++ is popular if you're not doing a lot of coding, but I just found there's a lot of little quality of life things with Microsoft Visual Studio Code that I really like. They have been pushing AI, and so there's a version of Microsoft Visual Studio Code without a lot of tracking in it. I'll try to see if I can find that and put it in the description, but for now, I haven't switched over because I haven't had time to really research. So this is Microsoft Visual Studio Code. If you open it up, I've already made a folder, but say you were brand new and you needed to make your website, right? So you can go to File, you can go Open Folder, and for me, on my desktop, I have the example site folder already, but you could navigate to wherever you want on your computer, make a folder for your website, title it whatever you want, and you're good to go. Okay, sorry about that. I forgot that I needed to get an example so I can show you some stuff. But you would have a folder, you would make a new file. For every website, you need a main landing page. For HTML sites, it has to be called index.html. This will be the main page of your website. And you put .html, so we titled the file correctly, and Visual Studio Code will then know certain syntax needs to be there. Now, this example HTML I grabbed from one of my web pages that I use for my blog, and we will kind of go over some of this stuff. It kind of looks like a lot. You don't need all this. This is just how I function my website. So you need to tell it doc type HTML. Again, I'm going to go through this fast. This is something you would have to learn how to use HTML for a lot of this to make sense. My goal is to get to the RSS feed part, so I'm going to kind of breeze through this. I'm going to explain what each of these things do, but I'm not going to really explain how to get to these things. So, heading. This is the header part of the HTML file. This has usually info that won't be displayed to the users, but is useful for other programs. So this title up here is what shows up on the tab when you're in a web browser. This is the little icon that shows up on the tab in the web browser. This, I believe, is to help devices scale your website better. I'm not exactly sure what this piece does. One of my friends helped me set this up and mentioned it's just a compatibility thing. Style sheet we'll get to in a moment. The way HTML works is HTML says what should be on a page, and CSS tells it how it should look. So that's that. This helps with sometimes the way computers work, there's different characters for things, and sometimes it can get confused. This helps keep it all on the same track. This is for a tagging system I use. This is not necessary. This is for a time thing I use. This is not necessary. You can see my notes here. This is for social media sharing. So when you share something to social media, it creates a little link view, a preview of what's being shared. This is what tells it what to pull from. So this would be the image it's using. This would be the type of image, so PNG in this case. This is the size of the image, and this is the title that shows up in the preview, and this is the description that shows up in the preview. From here, we start the body, main body of the HTML file. This is for my navigation bar, so that's loads at the top of the page to show you where to go. And this main section is the main part, of what you want in your article. This is all stuff that I just use as a template to work off of and make new blog posts from, but you would have in here whatever you want to post or talk about. So let's copy some of this stuff over, right? So if we need this stuff, actually, we'll start more basic than that. Let's go into the index HTML. HTML is pretty simple once you know the words for things. So, for example, we have headings, right? And the size of the heading is the number. So if I did H1, hello, that is going to be bigger than an H2, which is world, let's say. And I don't know actually how many numbers you can go down, but basically the bigger the number, the smaller the text. But these stand for headings, so H for heading. We have P for paragraphs. This is where the main part of everything goes. Then what else do we have? That's most of what I use. You can put breaks in paragraphs. So if I wanted a break, I'd add. Oh, it's trying to autofill for me. BR. This would make a new line break, basically. It adds a line break and then adds a line so that it looks visually pretty good. If you want to put an image, you could do image source equals and then the link to your image. Make sure to include an alt tag. So this is an example. This is for if people are blind or hover over the image, it'll give them some more info about the image. You have lists, so you have unordered lists. Those are just bullets, and then you have list items. This is a list item. You can also have ordered lists. These would be numbered lists, still list items, so this would be a ordered list item. I'm trying to think what else I typically use. There's other stuff, obviously, but this is a primary what I use when I'm typing up whatever. So with Visual Studio Code, I have it so I can send a preview of what we typed, and here we go, right? So hello world. You can see this one, bigger than this one. Then paragraph, you see here. Between paragraphs, it adds a little bit of a break, but you can see for this second paragraph, it looks like we have a whole break, and it was in the same paragraph item, basically. But because we added these breaks, it added a little break here. Image, it's not loading because I didn't put anything there. And so when an image can't load, it also pulls from alt text. That's also another reason why alt text is important. And then we have the list item, right? You can see this is a bulleted list item from here. And this is a ordered list item from here. Now, CSS, if you're interested, like I said, tells us how this should work. So I'm going to make a new file, for example. And we're going to do style.css. So now we have style.css. So let's say I wanted H1s to look different. CSS would just be like this, H1, text size, maybe it's just size. All right, I took a look. It's font size. There we go. And let's say we want this 50 pixels. So we have this here. We need to tell our index where to pull the style from. So I'm going to grab some basic formatting from here. So let me grab all of this, right, just for sake here. Then we will eliminate all the stuff that's not necessary here. So we don't need this for this example. We don't need really any of these for this example, but we do need the style. So let's just do this, right? So style sheet, we need to tell it where to get the style sheet. So if with the host we're using, we can give it a relative file path. So I can say this and then style. We know it's right there. We're going to copy this and I'm going to put it in the main section here. Okay, so here we go. You can see that hello has gotten bigger. Now, if we wanted to put something, say, in the body, right? So we want to change the color. We could also put body background color, let's say gray. There we go. Now it's gray. You can change this to look like however you want. Say we wanted these to look different. We don't want every paragraph. We just want this particular paragraph. We can do div class equals. We can title it whatever we want. What do we want to do? Let's say we want this to be small. We want it to be smaller than normal paragraph size. So we want to put this in here because we want this div to affect just this paragraph. Well, technically anything in this div would be smaller. We could then come in here and we would do dot small because that's what we called it. And we could say font size, let's do 10 pixels. And you can see over here that got much, much smaller. I know I said I wouldn't go into HTML too much and CSS, but I just like talking about this stuff. So this is where you would go from here and you would edit out your site, right? You would make whatever you want. You could style it with CSS. Again, there's languages here to be learned. There's a lot of Googling of how do you do this in CSS? How do you do this in HTML? But you can get there. It's not too bad once you get the basic like syntax down. And obviously my website has grown over time, so there's a lot of stuff I've added to these templates that was not there when I first made my site. You can get started very easily. All right. So let's say we have a site. We want to, my workflow is I make an HTML file for each post I want to do. I think that's going to be your easiest solution. So you do that, you make this, you're like, all right, this is an excellent post. I want to send it to my RSS feeds. Well, you need an RSS feed. So first we're going to, I like using folders. So I'm going to make a folder for the site called RSS Feeds. And then in here, sorry about that. I keep forgetting that I need to grab my own examples. So here's an example RSS feed. I forget why it needs XML, but this stuff is just kind of, you have to copy paste between things. I have a template that I just copy paste from. This info is about your blog or the specific RSS feed relevant to what you're making. So my website has multiple RSS feeds based on topics. So this information changes a bit depending on, what topic or which RSS feed it is. This RSS feeds and Atom feeds, they like to be linked to themselves. So when you're getting set up, it's a little weird because basically you have to make this RSS feed here, upload it to Neocities or whatever host you're using, then get the link and put it here for the RSS feed, and then update the RSS feed that you created. Once this stuff is set up, though, the biggest thing you'll be changing with your RSS feed is this. Each item is a new post, right, or a new thing you want to get out there. And when new posts go towards the top. So say this was post 1. If I want to then make another post, I would, usually I keep this as a template. So I copy this, paste it on top in whatever RSS feed I want to go to. So we're going to edit this, right? So title of the post. We're going to say this is my example post. URL, you would need the URL for whatever you're doing. So let's switch over to that. I use a website called Neocities to host my site. There's plenty of other sites you can use to host your stuff with. This is the one I like. So we're going to go to Neocities real quick. Here's Neocities. I'm going to just create a new account. I've typed some stuff in already. I'm going to say I'm human. Find items that you open and close. I think books. Next. Verify. Great. Create my site. We're going to continue with the free one. You can pay if you want. And I need a email token, so I'll be right back after that. All right, so it's been some time on this, and for whatever reason, none of my emails were working or getting an email from Neocities, so I had to use my main site to create a subsite. But we'll just kind of move on from here. So index, you can see Neocities starts a site with a working site. You can see here, it starts you with this looking site. We want to edit this stuff, so we want to edit the HTML to match our HTML. So I'm going to come over here, or index.html. So I'm going to just copy this stuff, and we're going to paste it in. Like I said, this is their editor, so you can edit everything you need right from here. But like I said, I like having 2 copies and just moving stuff over. They also have a style sheet, so we're going to edit that. And we're going to, again, make it look like ours. Save. So now if we look at index.html, we see it looks like it did for us. From here, you technically have a site at this point. From here, you can build up, do whatever you want. But we're talking about RSS feeds. So I've noticed that, in Visual Studio Code, we can right-click on something, and we can say, Reveal in File Explorer, right? Here we go. We got our file. I've noticed when I upload folders to Neocities, it sometimes doesn't upload everything in the folder. So I've learned to just make the folder manually and then upload whatever. We need to make sure the name is exactly the same. Capitalization matters. So I'm just going to copy RSS feeds because that's what we called this folder. We're going to come in here. I'm going to make a new folder, RSS feeds. Great. Now in that folder, we want our template in this case, or whatever you would name your RSS feed. If we middle mouse click on this, we get the RSS feed as it shows currently. So I'm going to copy this link because in our RSS feed, we need, I messed up. We don't need that right now. That would actually go right here. You would put it, then there we go, it links to itself. But we need a URL for our content. So we're using index in this case. If you had another HTML post, so if you had my first blog.html, you could also use that, whatever. Because we have index, I'm just going to use that. So back in Neocities, I want to open up the index file. This is the link for it. If I come in, here to our RSS feed, this is the link we're using. You need a dynamic, a unique ID, which you can just use the URL since no 2 URLs are going to be the same. You need the date in this format. So I usually use something called Unix time converter. But basically, I'm just going to leave that for now. This is just what you would use. Description for your post. So my first web page, for example. Blog category, if you have a category for it. So let's just say intro. Doesn't matter, whatever you want to categorize it as. And then this section, in between the C data, you need what's in your main section of the HTML. So just this part. Blop. And then make sure to save. We're going to copy and paste this into our RSS feed here. So I'm going to we have a new item, we save. And if we were subscribed to this feed after, however often our RSS feed reader updates, it would then pull this document for us. And that's it. Technically, I don't even know if you need a website. Like for the link and GUID, I don't know if they actually have to be real. Or if you just had like a Google Drive folder with everything, you could probably do something very similar. So now, say we have RSS feeds we want to follow or follow our own just to make sure it all works. What do we do? How do we do that? So we can use an RSS feed reader. So this is the old reader. It's one I used a while ago. And as you can see, I've subscribed to a few things. And if I scroll through, I can see recent posts from whatever I've, subscribed to. This is one of my own posts. Personally, I've moved away from the old reader and I self-host something called Fresh RSS, and this is how it looks for me. It has a lot more stuff I've subscribed to, but I have comics, I have weather, I have my own stuff. I have blog posts by people. I have a lot of comics, news, and so yeah, it's a great way to curate your own stuff online and have something to look at that's not driven by AI or algorithms or whatever. And so again, if I can actually show you with Fresh RSS, if we go back to you know our template XML here, because it's online now, I can copy this link and say I want to subscribe to it. I could add a feed. I'm going to leave it in uncategorized, add, and boom, it pulls the feed information. And if I click submit, I can then go back to my home page here on Fresh RSS, and we can see this is from our example, the content, which is empty because we didn't put anything there, and the example post, hello world, blah, 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 blah. And there you go. You have a website and an RSS feed. Again, there's more to it because it takes a bit to learn HTML and CSS, but at the bare minimum, in however long this took to film, you have a working example. Thank you for watching this. This is something I care a lot about, and so I'll probably talk more about. And sorry for not getting something more exciting. And also, I think this is going to be long. So, thanks.